I'm Ann Cammett, and I know many of you because Rhonda and my life intersected in so many ways. In fact, she brought me to her various communities at different points of our lives together, and it's one of the many things that I'm truly grateful for. Most of all, Rhonda made me a teacher, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I'm currently in the gendered wasteland of Las Vegas. And I say that as a joke in a sense, but Rhonda actually came to spend some time with us in Las Vegas last year, and there were some pretty tremendous moments there. And before I begin, I want to thank the organizing committee for putting this together and for the opportunity to speak about Rhonda at this tribute. Allison, Anita, Blanche, Claire, Kathy, Charlotte, Linda, Pam, Roz, Roxana, anybody I neglect to mention. The omission is my own. I know that many of these folks were Rhonda's comfort in her last moments, and I personally want to thank you for that. This is the first time I've spoken publicly about Rhonda since her passing, and I have to admit I experienced a fair amount of trepidation about coming here today. After she passed, I was pretty much inconsolable, as many people here were, even though I knew from the beginning how very sick she was. It was only after her death, I think, I realized why I was so taken aback. She was so tough. She was such a fighter. She was such an advocate that I never really believed she would die. So, on some level, I never believed it, but that was the effect that she had on us. She made everybody believe that anything was possible, including her living. So after her death, I'm kind of left to reflect on what she meant to me during her life and for this period of my life moving forward. And I can honestly say to begin that no one has had more of a personal or professional impact on me in my life than Rhonda Copeland. So today I have an opportunity to offer a few words of praise for this extraordinary woman, my mentor and my beloved friend, one of the most thoughtful, creative, and generous people I have ever known. I do this in a space filled with fellow travelers, and I love that, and I know Rhonda would love it too, members of Rhonda's global community of friends, loved ones, and she'd be delighted to be fated in this way, with laughter and song. About a year and a half ago, I was honored, along with Charlotte, to introduce Rhonda at SALT, the Society of American Law Teachers, at a dinner where she was receiving a Human Rights Award. She asked the two of us to introduce her because we represented, in her words, different aspects of what she considered her human rights practice, her pedagogical role as a law professor, and her activist role as an advocate for women's rights. Rhonda's incalculable contributions to the field of international women's human rights are well known, and you're going to hear others talk about that today and their effect on her. But I think what's less known is her enormous impact on her students. So my task here today is a modest but I think important one. It's a story about one activist teacher's profound influence on another's. And I'm sure in the telling, I'm channeling the story of 100 other students, some of whom are here, who are privileged enough to have her unique style of mentoring. I'll always be grateful for the moment and that chance to tell Rhonda at the SALT dinner how much I loved her and how much she meant to me while she was still alive. And it's worth remembering that if you have the opportunity to do that while someone is still here, you should grasp it. Because it was one of the singular moments of my life, and I remember it quite fondly. Many of you know me as Rhonda's teaching assistant for family law at CUNY Law School. But a lot of you don't realize that I actually went to CUNY because of Rhonda. My friends Blanche and Claire introduced me to her, and she understood that I was thinking about going to law school, and she said, "You ought to come to CUNY," and so I did. It was one of many such moments in my life where I did what Rhonda told me to do because I had the instinct that it was right. So I became her TA, but I remember one law school class where I decided that I had to work with this woman. It was an interesting class. It was she was delivering a lecture which essentially equated the institution of marriage with slavery. And I remember that I was older. I was an older student. Is that my time? Okay. Okay, I just got a couple more things to say. But I have to tell you about this class because I thought at this time, okay, I got to get on this train. So even the most stalwart feminists were squirming in their seats as she delivered this lecture, right? But then she continued. She was very soft-spoken, even though she hit you with a hammer. And she continued in this non-polemical way to deconstruct the institution of marriage and challenge heteronormativity, and moreover, to push people to think of the family as a political unit And at that moment, I became a family lawyer, and I still am to this day. Okay? That is a perspective I definitely got from her. She's often said she commandeered me into being her teaching assistant, and she was persistent, so to a certain degree that was true, but the reality is I reveled in a chance to work with an uncommon spirit like Rhonda. Okay, so I'm going to move this ahead, but I just have to say a couple of things, and since we're in this particular crowd, I feel like I can say this. For all of her genius, Rhonda could be absolutely exasperating. And in the spirit of this event, I need to talk about it just for a minute, if you'll indulge me, right? Okay, first of all, as Charlotte pointed out, she was incapable of getting almost anywhere on time. But of course, she had to make several stops along the way to tackle some pressing issue, pick up a comrade, drop off a comrade, a CD, or an important document, right? And I learned patience through her. That's why I'm a good teacher. Okay, second, she had the capacity to change her mind over and over again about the most minute task, where to have dinner, what time to meet, how to approach any problem, no matter how small. Finally, few of us have ever been in an important meeting with her where she didn't say, just one more thing, at least 3 times, extending long meetings past the point of human endurance. So this begs the question, if Rhonda was such a pain in the ass, why do I miss her so much? Or why do we miss her so much? And I think the answer to that question lies in the heart of everybody here, because she had a unique way of touching everybody to make them feel like they were the only person in the world. And so, just to sum up, for me, I can say over the years, this is what I've observed about Rhonda. When she showed up late, it was because she was tackling an ever-growing list of problems, right, that could be arising anywhere in the world. Or sometimes she was just ministering to a friend in need. I can't tell you how many times I've bent her ear asking for relationship advice, if you can picture that. But sage advice she did give, right? Rhonda's tendency to change her mind while exasperating was partly the source of her genius. No one was able to see a problem from every conceivable angle in the way that she did. And when she finished with that process, she'd be way ahead of the curve on many issues, right? And the fiercest advocate you could ever imagine. So finally, when Rhonda would say one more thing, it was usually because a truly important point was overlooked during the conversation, and it was usually about gender. And she was usually right. Rhonda, even in her passing, acts as some sort of feminist superego in my brain, saying, don't forget your gender analysis. Right? So I just want to close by saying one of her talents was being able to see talent in other people, and that's why I'm a law teacher today. She took me under her wing. She harassed me for years until I went on the market, and I did. And it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. She offered me a model of how one could be an academic and continue to do important work in scholarship that had meaning, that improved people's lives, and how to inspire students, and I really thank her for that. The last thing I learned from Rhonda, well, not the last, but the one that sticks, is that you should never let the current state of the law, or your circumstances limit you, right? Because she failed to be limited in her approach to achieving the social justice goals, she wasn't afraid to take chances. If the federal courts are inhospitable to civil rights, pursue the fight for justice under the rubric of international law, right? The political landscape is constantly changing, and it's a mean world out there right now. And to be effective in social justice work depends on your ability to be a shapeshifter. So it's a rare gift, again, to publicly honor someone like Rhonda, but she gave me the tools to make it happen for me, and I'm going to forever be grateful for that. In addition, she was a generous spirit and the best friend that anybody could ever have, and I really miss her. Thanks.